Hey guys, wanted to go over NASCAR is coming to the LA Coliseum, or that's what's being talked about for basically the All Star race or like an exhibition race, possibly. I'm going to give you my thoughts and feelings on it real quick. Um, so, first of all, I understand that NASCAR is trying to reach an audience in that area. Specifically, I guess, well, they're already in California, but I guess more of that market in California, LA. Um, so I'm not against that. Um, I think I'm more against the venue that they're going to, um, which is basically a quarter mile um, track. I don't even think it's going to be that big, but it's a Coliseum, so whatever that little loop is around there, it's not very big. Uh, I just feel like NASCAR fans, even newer fans, are used to a particular type of racing. And I know that, you know, Martinsville, in my opinion, can get turned into a demolition derby. Um, I personally think that this is where stage racing at short tracks causes an issue because the more times you re rack them and you do it again with cautions, it seems like the more it bunches it up. I remember watching Richmond races before stage racing and Martinsville races before stage racing, and you'd get them strung out, and it's green flag runs and everything else, and that's when it to me that was great short track racing because you actually could tell when a car had long run speed and everything else, and you get that sometimes nowadays, but it's kind of rare. Um, and well, then again, cars back then too. I will say that it seemed like cautions kind of sometimes would fly a little more naturally because of attrition with the cars that you don't have now. Um, but going to the LA race, it reminds me of a place like Bowman Gray where it's just going to be really, really tight. And I don't know, these are big cars, wide cars, heavy cars. You know, they're going to get up to maybe 70 miles an hour on the back stretches and front stretches. I mean, I don't know. I think guys are going to be spinning out. I think it's going to be a lot of power down to the rear wheels. I think there's going to be a difference between guys rubbing and bumping. It's going to be a lot of spins, I think, and cautions. And I don't know. I think it's going to almost be like a Daytona race where any guy can win. I just have a feeling that people are just going to be doing these desperation moves and dive bombing people, and I don't think that's good racing. But um, the other thing that I'm a little concerned about is, I guess, cost to the teams. I mean, I'm not opposed to NASCAR having to spend money, and I feel like that practice and qualifying was kind of a cool thing we probably need to bring back to some capacity. I don't know if we need to have, you know, 3 sessions of practice like we used to, or happy hour, or this and that, but um, I feel like this is a little bit of an unnecessary cost. You know, the Bristol dirt race was a different story because it was a points paying race. This is just a race, in my opinion, to fill out the waters. It's like an experimental race to see if it works. And I get it, you know, years ago NASCAR went to Japan and did that whole deal, but a lot of teams didn't want to do that. It cost a lot of money to go over there. Um, I'll also say that was a different time in NASCAR where I think that the teams maybe had more money, um, in my opinion, because there were a lot of, you know, big sponsors in the sport, and NASCAR was booming and doing really good, and you know the money was pouring in, and but who knows? Maybe somehow Los Angeles kind of flipped some of the bill for this. I don't know. You know, I just with this new car coming around, I hear they're probably going to use a Gen 6 car for that, which I think is cost saving, but kind of weird because it's like, well, you're not really giving those fans like the actual car. You're giving them like an old car what, you know what I mean? So it's like, if you're gonna do it, do it. But they're like, well, we don't want to give them the next gen car because they're gonna tear that one up. And I don't know. It just seems kind of like a cluster to me. But we'll see what they plan to do. Also wanted to talk about the next gen car a little bit more. So they did some Daytona test, and I guess it's just me a little ranting here, but the drivers are complaining about heat temperatures in the car, and they want it to drive better and this and that and everything else. And it's really frustrating me because you hear guys like Mark Martin and some other NASCAR drivers, I can't think of names of. I know Mark Martin specifically, mentioning, he's like, hey man, these cars pretty much drive themselves. He's like, a lot of times it's hard to spin out, this and that. Like, you really got to be pushing really, really, really hard. Like, you got to have like lack of judgment or lapse in concentration or whatever. But I'm just really concerned that these cars, the more that they test and the more that drivers say, well, they're hard to drive, then, I mean, it's like, I hate to say it, Kyle Busch made a good point. He's like, he thinks that these cars are just going to be, more and more aero dependent, and they're going to be, easier to drive, and it's going to take driving out of the hands of the natural skilled guys, and they're all going to be spec chassis and blah blah blah. And I think he's all right. I think that with these testing going on and drivers, I mean, I just don't feel like you're going to have a lot of drivers that are like, I don't know, I want that thing to be loose as hell and hard to drive. Like, I don't think many guys are going to say that nowadays. And my fear is that NASCAR is listening too much to the drivers, and by the time this next gen car hits, an 80-year-old grandma could drive it just as good as they can. I mean, that's not realistic, but I mean, it's kind of like kind of how I feel about it. I mean, I feel like we're already doing spec chassis and everything else. Like, stop getting rid of the guy that has a raw talent of driving. That should still be very important. And I feel like with this car, it's just going to keep getting diminished if they keep going the way I think they're going. With that said, was it Austin Dillon or whoever is complaining about it being too hot in the car and everything else? And I get it. They said the temperatures were up to 130. Well, I mean, the temperatures have been 130 and 140 in the Cup cars before. I think I read an article in 2014 where Carl Edwards was saying that the car was up to like 130, 140, and that might have been the car tomorrow with the wing on it or something like that. I can't exactly remember when that was, but it wasn't that long ago. It might have been like the Gen 5 car or whatever it was. But anyways, that's nothing new. And now, granted, I think that when they started lowering the cars, I guess in the, I don't know, late 90s or early 2000s, that's when the temperatures started coming up in the cars because of the airflow and stuff. But, the thing is back then, yeah, the temperatures might have been lower in the cars, but they didn't have fans and cool boxes and air hoses going to the helmet. So I think that their core body temperatures are probably just as high as the guys are now. And I don't remember those guys always bitching and complaining about it being hot. So again, I think it's just more like, it's just, I mean, I'm all about safety. I mean, I think that safer barriers, Hans, that's great, but I'm all about, like, you don't want to see guys having strokes out there. But at the end of the day, they conditioned themselves to do it back then with a lot less of the training and the knowledge that we have now of how you should prepare for races and be an athlete in NASCAR. Because back in the day, you didn't really necessarily have athletes in NASCAR. They just conditioned themselves by driving the car a lot. Now there's all these workout programs and all these supplements and ways to hydrate your body and everything else, to where, I don't know, it just, and they're going to fix the cars to where they get cooler, but it's just like, just more bitching about like every little creature comfort they got to have. I'm like, you guys already have so many creature comforts in these cars. You have a rear view mirror that's a freaking camera, like they're not even rear view mirrors anymore in next gen cars. They're LCD camera things. And I don't know. I'm like, at this point, just put damn AC in the car, put air conditioning in the car, and just do it that way. So I don't know. It kind of keeps reaffirming my belief that the Xfinity in the trucks is going to be more for like your legacy old school fans, and the next gen car is going to be more for your hip hop, beat bop, new fan that just doesn't care what the hell happens. So anyways, That's all I got on that. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree with me, disagree with me, and why you agree and disagree with me. Talk to you later. Bye bye.